I'm Lucas Scott, the head coach at Randolph College, and you are watching the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference. Go Wildcats, or else.
Hello and welcome. I am your host, Rhea Sylvia, and I am here with Lucas Scott, the head coach of esports at Randolph College. Welcome, Lucas. How's it going?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. We are fresh off of our first win of the season, so energy is really high over here, and we are really excited to close out the season on a strong note.
I'm super excited to talk to you, and I can feel the energy. I know we did like a little pre-interview, make sure we're on the same page, and it was popping already. So I'm super excited for our actual conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm just glad to hopefully shed a light on the program that we have here, because it's small, but it's really something special that I'm proud of.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we'll dive right into that. But first, I do want to celebrate that win of the MAC season. So why don't you tell us which team, which game, how did it happen?
Yeah, so this Tuesday we went into battle against American University. Both of our teams were towards the bottom of the standings, so at least we knew that we were kind of in the same skill level, and we really wanted to put on a good show, and it felt like kind of everything that we'd been working on in terms of stuff for Valorant that season had really come together. We had really good comm work, we were playing off of our abilities well, and it kind of what started off as a ragtag group of people. I mean, most of the people on the team aren't even level 30 in their accounts. We're still very much so learning the game, and being able to take, what started off as kind of a introductory type course into, an actual competitive victory where it felt like we were applying concepts that apply at the highest level of skill play was really great to see, and something that I was really happy to see that my players were appreciating too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And how was the energy in the room when you got that win?
Oh, it was electric. I mean, the last 3 rounds, we may or may not have thrown 5, 6, 7 rounds in a row with 12 wins on the board, match point. So we were letting them have a little fun with it. We were just giving them some freebies. Totally not that we were getting just a real big comeback, and it was really stressing me out. But the second that last kill came in, everybody started screaming. People were out of their chairs. There was a big chant of "Not the worst in the region, let's go!" So that was definitely a highlight of my week, my month, probably my year in my career, honestly.
That's incredible. And I think you're obviously probably partially joking, but it's also not joking, because it really doesn't matter if you're competing at the highest levels or you're competing in the MAC, which is obviously amazing, but it's not the biggest league in the nation yet. But what matters is that energy, that excitement, that competition. It's you get out of it what you put into it, and it sounds like your students got everything out of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's something that I've been really trying to build here, is because we're not the biggest school. We may not be able to, consistently attract, say, top 500 prospect in a given game, or even if we do, then, sometimes we don't have enough people to field a full roster for a game, and I kind of have to tell them, hey, I can, help you work through concepts that apply to your ranked game, and if you're looking to try it for a semi-pro or something like that, but we may not have the resources on campus for you to be a kind of part of a full team environment. So I am still going to be trying to interact with that student, make sure they're still involved, and stuff like campus spirit, getting them to watch broadcasts made by other students and stuff like that has been really great. And stuff like we just had our esports jerseys made, our very first ones. This is something that I'm really happy with, because not only are they super comfortable and sleek and they look like esports jerseys, but they took in input from our student body. We had a vote on a couple of options, as well as kind of what would you like to see on the jerseys, and something that came up was we are located in Lynchburg, Virginia, which is right at the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. So they wanted to have kind of a mountain theme to the jerseys, and so if you look at the bottom here, there's kind of some mountains.
I like that. That's so pretty. And then you got the scratch marks for the Wildcats, right?
Yeah, no, go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats. Absolutely.
A little bit of history, if we're getting into history. Wildcats has a capitalized C because Randolph used to be a women's college. So the Wildcats, WC, Women's College, that's how they kind of keep that spirit
Wow.
alive. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. But
I love
uh,
that. I didn't know that.
yeah, no, I mean, we fully integrated, I think, in 2007 or something like that. So it's been a little bit, but they still kind of keep that spirit alive on campus.
On a slightly tangential but historical note, I wanted to chime in because actually, American University is where I went to law school. So not undergrad, so it's not my alma mater. I'm still rooting for the Wildcats. But actually, American University's law school used to be, it started as an independent all women's law school at a time when other law schools wouldn't accept women. And then, it became part of American University and obviously accepts both men and women at this time, but it's very similar, it sounds like, to the history of Randolph College.
Yeah, no, I mean it's good to see that there's still kind of these historical roots even while we are staring at computers all day.
So let's dive right into the esports program. So Randolph College has 1,000 undergrad students. That is quite small. What does an esport program look like at a college like that?
So yeah, I mean our student body isn't the biggest, so we're not kind of trying to support a million different teams competing in a million different games, and I am the only full-time staff for the esports program, so I mean I also couldn't really handle that. But what it ends up looking like is we see so much passion for just kind of the intro level stuff, and kind of people just want to play the games in groups. We have a really active community who just gets together and plays Smash Brothers in the room basically every other day. And we have a 8 PC computer lab that we keep open 4 or 5 days a week depending on my student worker schedules, and I can walk in there and I can see everything from kids playing Diablo 1 to ROM hacked versions of Pokemon to Magic the
Absolutely.
Gathering cards spread all over the room, or they're playing Yu-Gi-Oh, or sometimes they're playing Valorant, or kind of the more traditional esports things. But the main priority that I kind of found when I got on campus a year ago was that there's so many different interest areas that these students cover that may not have full team level numbers, but because we're a small college and the room kind of fits our needs, we can help it supply what they are interested in, which is a place to gather, a place to game, and for those of them who don't have PCs of their own, then a way to kind of introduce themselves to the esports ecosystem and see, is being a player something that being a competitive player something that I am, really driven for to grind for, and if not, players make up less than 5% of all the people who are involved in the esports ecosystem. So is there something else that they can get involved with? Either, on the farther reaches of esports where, you get into like the legal or whatever, and you may have a background in that in law, but there's also, broadcasters, people who help with content, people who can help with, making games themselves. We try and help out anybody to figure out what their real passion is within the larger ecosystem of esports, because it's only going to get bigger from here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wow, you hit on so many things that I want to ask about. I
Okay.
guess let's start with the different types of games that your program covers or welcomes, because I think it's amazing that you're not sort of stopping at esports. Like you're also including Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic the Gathering or what have you. And well, I mean, obviously some of those games actually can be played online. There's Magic the Gathering can be played online, for example. It's not just a physical card game. But what I like about that is that, you know, you're welcoming a broader, I guess, demographic, because some folks might be interested in games that aren't particularly traditional esports, but then coming into that space where everyone's hanging out together, they might try out something that's a traditional esport. And also, you know, folks generally like variety, so it's awesome that you welcome so many games under one roof. Can you tell me about how that happened? Was it just sort of something that, you opened a room and people just came in and they played whatever they wanted to play, or do you curate some of this?
Yeah, I mean, the honest answer is I don't curate. So we have PCs that aren't, on some kind of LAN software or something that's going to tell them like these are the games you can play here. They are basically just PCs as you would buy them if you were a consumer, and that's something that I find useful because that's how you interact with them in the professional space. Is the only time you're working with LAN PC software is if you're at a LAN center, like competing at an esports event or something like that. But most people are not picking up a PC with the sole intention of going pro in Valorant or Counter-Strike or League of Legends or something like that. They're picking up a PC because they see like, oh, there are, this list of games. And, if you want to kind of compare it to the console thing, the list of PC exclusives is a lot less restrictive than the list of any console exclusives that I've ever seen. Unless you want to get really technical about what Nintendo exclusive means, but not the main point. But kind of, I was hired last November and I came here and I saw that, they had this room full of nice PCs that, in my head, coming from a competitive background, because I used to compete in Overwatch in the collegiate space. But when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's kind of like a practice room where a team would gather, like, and that's the main purpose of the room would just be for those 5 players to become like the best League of Legends players or whatever that they could be. But then I realized that, outside of those 5 players, we still have an entire campus community who walks by that room fairly frequently and says, hey, I wonder what I could do in there. And the more that we opened it up, the more that we saw that people from all parts of campus came in, and it was really great to see. One of the things that kind of keeps Randolph on the map is our athletics program, and this year we have a lot of kids who are like, oh, after tennis practice, after swim practice, after, we also have a music program, so I have kids coming in with trombones and stuff, and just even if it's just to relax after a long day of classes, it becomes part of their campus life, and they kind of interact with campus in a more meaningful way than they would otherwise, which I think is really great.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. Coming in with trombones, swimming trunks, that I think just adds so much like variety to your college experience, and I think that's really important. You can't go to college like this. You have to be able to experience different things, whether it's gaming or, like you said, sports, study abroad, things like that. And it sounds like your program, your esports program, creates that variety and broadens the horizons of the students at Randolph College.
Yeah, and that's always been the intention, because I have experience in the professional esports sphere, and my main kind of takeaway from that was, A, North America is not the most dominant esports region in the world, and B, the way that we kind of get to a higher tier of play is by just getting the pool of players wider, and the main way of doing that is by kind of catering to what they want to do, which is everything all at once.
I like it. How do you make sure that the space remains welcoming to everybody? Because esports is notorious for being toxic, for being exclusionary, for all sorts of gatekeepers. Are there any kind of policies or procedures, or even like sort of training courses, let's say in communication, that you do to make sure that everyone feels welcome in the space?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I really love about Randolph is that we have this very trusting policy where instead of, everything has to be overseen every second of the day, I can delegate a lot more work to my esports workers, which means that we can have the space open even when I'm not in there, and being able to, cater to everybody. So we have controllers, keyboards, mice, whatever you need already set up for you, so anybody who walks in can pick it up. I also have talked with my student workers about like, hey, if somebody doesn't really know what to do on a PC, this is kind of the first couple of steps you'd want to walk them through, show them what like the Steam homepage looks like, show them what's available for free on Epic Games, stuff like that, where these are the types of things that doesn't have to just be done in that room. They could take it back to their home laptop, some others set up at a LAN center somewhere and kind of experiment around, but getting them kind of through the door is the main thing that we look for. And also, they're gamers, so occasionally you have to be like, tone it down with the language, or don't keep picking on somebody just because they're ahead in Smash Brothers. But by and large, these kids are adults and they kind of know how to interact, and as long as they're using the space respectfully and not causing any sort of long-term damage, I'm really just happy that we've created a program that seems to function autonomously.
I really like that. I like what you said about training your student workers to walk people through some of the first steps, like opening Steam, explaining what Steam is, showing the homepage, like you said. I think that's really important. It might sound like a small step, but I think it's really important because there are programs out there that just say that they treat everybody the same. But what that means is they open the doors to their facility and, that's it. Like, forget about it, right? They might be more in charge of making sure the PCs are working and things like that. But that's not actually welcoming to folks who are new to the world of esports or even to the world of gaming. And so this proactive step, when you actively welcome somebody who is new, somebody who is lost, somebody who might be afraid to ask a question, right? You're proactively saying like, hey, you belong, let me help you get started.
Yeah, and we've had a really positive response to that. I also do kind of one-on-one sessions with people who may not be the most acclimated with kind of computers overall, so I can also help them through stuff like that. And especially if you're super new, something like picking which game to pick out of the hundreds that may be installed on the PC is kind of a monumental step. And if you don't have a specific idea of what you want to play coming through, then all of a sudden, the idea of I want to play a shooter game only really narrows it down to a couple dozen. You still have to pick through that, or any other specific genre. But if you can say like I like games where I can do this type of thing, where I can collect stuff while also being able to shoot people, is a little bit more helpful and helps me see what kind of player you are, and if you have kind of the type of experience that maybe you would flourish in a team environment versus just kind of figuring things out on yourself, and kind of treating everybody as their own individual gamer who develops at their own pace.
I love it. I love it. I want to go down there and I want to check out your space.
we do have some recruiting events coming up, but I'm not quite allowed to give any details until we get through some meetings. So maybe we'll
Sounds good. Sounds good. No worries. No worries. Well, let's then shift to something else that you mentioned, which is how broad the area of esports is. And like you said, it includes, lawyers and broadcasters and, game designers and what have you. So can you tell us whether your students participate in anything that is other than competing, right? So do you have folks that stream or that help produce the streams, that post YouTube videos, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, so we don't have kind of a Randolph official support system for content yet, but that's something that we're definitely developing right now. We're getting hardware and kind of streaming supplies getting shipped basically all the time, because we have a couple of students who are really interested in the field but maybe don't feel comfortable fully broadcasting themselves yet, and they want to more acclimate themselves with the technology first, which is completely fine. That's what a program like ours wants to do, is make you feel comfortable taking those first couple of steps so that you can succeed on your own with your own kind of skill set. But we are always looking for kids who are passionate more than they are individually skilled in a game, because kind of the main thing that I talk about with my kids while coaching is that there are game specific skills that you can learn all the skills that will make you super talented in a single game, and there are kind of the broader gaming skills, and then there are kind of life skills beyond that. So trying to find a balance between the three where you feel like you're enriching all three areas is really how you become a truly cracked gamer, is what we call them.
I like it. May we all be truly cracked at life.
That's the goal.
So talk to us specifically about the MAEC. How many teams do you have competing, and in which games?
So this semester we just have the one in Valorant for MAEC. We did League of Legends in the past. Actually, a lot of the kids who were on our League team transitioned over to our Valorant team, so we can kind of get that ecosystem of kids who kind of know how to work in a team environment going. We'll see what the kids are interested in next season. There's a lot of interest in stuff like Smash Brothers and Valorant for the time being, so that's what we're focusing on. But we'll see kind of if there's a whole new wave of students next year who are interested in something else, because I am always kind of fielding feedback about what the kids want to do and what they're looking at, but being able to say like, hey, our Valorant team's competing in MAEC, come root them on at this stream link, or help them out by coming out to an event and cheering in your jerseys, stuff like that is something that we really love to see as part of MAEC, and also just as part of the larger esports ecosystem.
Now, speaking of the new wave of students, do you do any sort of outreach, for example, either to freshmen that are incoming or even high schoolers that are potential, newcomers to Randolph College? What kind of outreach do you do? And is it specific to esports, or is it sort of more part of the general outreach that the college does?
So we do a little bit of both. We have some brochures and stuff that our admissions department hands out to interested students whenever they're out and about at recruiting events at high schools and stuff like that. I have a couple of high school visits that I'm planning on doing, but mostly we kind of focus on one of the things that kind of helps our students create connect to the larger esports ecosystem is if, you know, a recruiting event or an on-campus event is kind of organized through them, where they, you know, set up the chairs, they figure out kind of the flow of the room, the design of the event hour to hour, and that kind of stuff. So we also have them help out with our recruiting events. So, you know, kind of one of the ones that's my personal favorites is kind of getting an intro to streaming course, where we get them set up with OBS, we get another computer set up with like a broadcaster booth, and then, you know, you have a commentary section and a gameplay section, and then you can also have some people who are, you know, say making digital designs for the event, or programming, or, you know, helping run a bracket if it's a tournament type of thing. So there's a lot of different ways that they can interact with esports, but they're all still, they don't necessarily have to be the best gamer or anything like that.
Absolutely. And I think the advantage of a small school is you probably have more opportunities to participate in whatever you like, just because there are fewer people. So if today you want to try broadcasting and tomorrow you want to try streaming and the next day you want to try competing, it sounds like there's always room for folks to try whatever it is that they want.
Oh yeah, no, we're a big fan of people who can kind of fill multiple roles. We're a big fan of, especially if you can kind of play against each other. That's one of my favorite ways of having practice time, is if you are talking with the person you're playing against, being like, oh, I noticed like this thing that I keep being able to do. I don't know if that's something that you can easily counter, but I'm getting a lot of mileage off of it. Somebody who's better than me may be abusing this harder. So kind of thinking a bit more while you're in game, because especially in a team environment, in a game like, say, Valorant, where you're constantly having to track enemy abilities, where they're at, you know, what angles am I dangerous from, then being able to think critically while also focusing on gameplay is a very specific skill that doesn't really get developed outside of esports and, you know, certain other team sports type environments.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that Randolph College does well is providing the hardware, right? Providing the actual equipment that the students can use. So even though your program is small, you make sure that your students have really good equipment to actually practice on.
Yeah, no, our esports lab was built before I even got on campus I mean, it's still really top of the line hardware, and our IT department also does a wonderful job of helping me out whenever, you know, a computer is going through some RAM issues or something random. They will swap out the PC within a week or so, and, you know, we may be down a PC for a couple days, but once it gets back, you know, I have full faith in them that everything's going great. We also just had our B&G, our buildings crew, come into the room, both to help with kind of some circulation stuff and also install some foam for soundproofing, because sometimes, you know, if you have 3 people at practice in Valorant yelling comms on one side, other people are playing Smash in the corner, and somebody else is playing, you know, their own single player game, it gets a little loud. So we wanted to make sure that the room was able to accommodate as many people as possible.
That sounds great. You know, actually, I'm glad you mentioned foam, because I think a lot of times we focus so much on like the PCs and the hardware, we forget about
the room itself is important.
soundproofing.
And the space that you're in, making sure they can handle the number of people that you're actually expecting it to, because people plus PCs is, you know, sometimes a decent amount of heat. So you can make a room uncomfortable, you can make, you know, it not something that you want to be in multiple days a week. So I'm really glad that we have a program that kind of set up something that everybody can interact with most days of the week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, okay. Randolph College sounds amazing. If anyone's watching is a high schooler and looking for a college to go to, I would go to Randolph College.
Yeah, we are always looking for new recruits. If you Google Randolph Esports, you'll go to a page that has a link to a survey that I am pretty actively following for high school recruitment. The same is true for if you're a guidance counselor, or, you know, anybody who's interested in stuff like theater technicians and kids who do broadcasting. Really, if you have a passion in this industry, I want to at least have a conversation with you so I can see if, you know, there's any way that we can help you. And if I can't help you, then I wish you the best, and it seems like you'd be off to do great things.
I want to shift gears just a little bit. So we have a couple minutes left. I wanted to ask you about you specifically and your hobbies, because you have a million different hobbies, as I understand, but one of them is competitive card games. And so I just want to hear more about that, because I mean, that's essentially an extension of your esports program and your esports space.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's something that I've been really able to connect with a lot because of the student body here. We have a lot of kids who play Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! That's been something that that the space has been kind of set up to accommodate, which I'm a big fan of. There's also a really great local community for the games, which is something that is always great to see, with something that kind of requires a physical connection, like stuff like fighting games, card games. I do feel like our maybe even more important than they've ever been in this kind of post-pandemic world, where all of a sudden we're like, okay, what activities can we do in person? And seeing kids, out at the card shop or out, doing whatever they want to do is really great, on top of the fact that, from a personal standpoint, I love the brain teasers of card games. I love, picking out these are the cards out of the totality of possible choices that kind of synergize together in the way that I want, or being able to take what you would consider to be like, oh, this was like some top tier professional gameplay deck that I'm kind of stealing, and being able to understand its intricacies because you understand the core mechanics of the game. That's wonderful. And it kind of teaches you a million different little things that can help optimize other things in your life.
Yeah, I think card games are actually very difficult because, like you said, of the different possibilities, there are so many different cards and only X number of cards in a deck. So there are just so many more variations of how to set up your deck versus something like League of Legends or Valorant in terms of setting up your team. Yes, there's still a lot of champions, but not as many
Yeah.
as there are cards.
And
So.
it especially kind of ties into personal expression. I feel like I find out a lot about people from the way that they play any game, but in card games especially, where you have, I mean, that gigantic choice of narrowing it just down to the number of cards in your deck tells me a lot about you, and then I could get to see how you play the game, which also can tell me a lot about you.
I have for someone who is a Magic the Gathering player, I have a controversial question for you.
It,
How do you feel about the stickers on the cards? Because I feel like the
okay.
internet's kind of losing their mind about that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it, and I think the idea of cards that are functionally personalized to, like, this is my copy of this goblin, and I know because it has a sticker with the word weird on it or something like that. I think that's a neat concept, and especially for kind of the longevity of the game, because Magic kind of saw a big uptick in 2020 where a lot of new people joined, and then quickly realized that it's a terrible way to spend a lot of money. That being able to kind of find your own within Magic the Gathering, which is this long and storied game, is a really important skill, or kind of a thing that hopefully makes it resonate a little bit more with you. But the stickers themselves, the actual act of like peeling off a sticker and putting it on a Magic card, is a little weird. And arguably equally weird is the fact that most card games are played sleeved, so you take off the sticker and you're putting it on your card sleeve, which is like an extra layer of plastic outside of the card, is just like an extra layer of weird.
Hey, but that way you're preserving the card, which is also a big thing in Magic the
Yeah, no, I
Gathering.
mean, it's a problem because Magic is a game where even in the most popular format, which is supposed to be casual friendly, I will go down to the card shop and play against guys who are dropping down just $500 pieces of cardboard on me, and I'm like, you sure you don't gotta, like, put that in a humidor or something?
I love it. I love it. Okay, so just to wrap up, Lucas, do you have any parting words for your team that is playing right now as we speak?
Well, make sure you're all going in at the same time. I'm tired of watching people bait each other. Anyway, um, the main thing is just I am so happy with the progress that we've made over the course of this semester. I've said it a number of times, but there are so many things I could point to and be like, at the start of the year, you weren't doing this. And the fact that you are now not only doing it, but recognizing when it's the right choice and when it, may have upside or downside, means that you are thinking about the game in a completely different axis and a lot closer to the way that people who make a lot of money off of these games play them. So that's the main thing, is I'm just really happy to have a team that is cohesive and is looking to improve. And if you are a high school recruit who is looking for a place to maybe call home in sometime in the near future, Google Randolph Esports, fill out my survey, and I would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Awesome. Lucas, thank you so much for joining us. This has been the most entertaining interview I've done so far. So
Thanks for
I'm
having
personally
me.
very excited. Thank you for your time, and go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats.